Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. Once upon a time, in a small village near the woods, there lived a sweet girl named Little Red Riding Hood. She was called so because she always wore a red hooded cloak her grandmother had sewn for her. One sunny morning, her mother gave her a basket filled with bread, jam, and freshly baked cookies. "Take this to your grandmother," her mother said. "She's feeling unwell and could use some company. Remember to stay on the path and don't talk to strangers." Little Red Riding Hood nodded, kissed her mother goodbye, and skipped off into the woods. The forest was bright and full of cheerful birdsong. As she wandered, she noticed the vibrant flowers along the path. "I'll pick some for Grandma," she thought, stepping off the path. As she gathered flowers, a sly wolf emerged from the shadows. He was large, with piercing eyes and a cunning smile. "Good morning, little girl," the wolf greeted. "What brings you to the woods today?" "I'm visiting my grandmother," she replied innocently. "She's not feeling well." The wolf's mind raced with a clever plan. "And where does your grandmother live?" "Just beyond the forest, in the little cottage with the red door," Little Red Riding Hood said without hesitation. "How kind of you to visit her," the wolf said, his voice dripping with charm. "Why don't you gather more flowers? I'm sure your grandmother would love a big bouquet." Little Red Riding Hood nodded, distracted by the idea, while the wolf dashed ahead to the grandmother's cottage. When the wolf arrived, he knocked on the door. "Who is it?" called Grandma. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood," the wolf replied in a sweet voice. "Come in, dear," Grandma said. The wolf burst in, gobbled up Grandma, and quickly disguised himself in her nightgown and cap. He climbed into bed and waited. A short while later, Little Red Riding Hood arrived, her basket in hand and flowers tucked under her arm. "Grandma, it's me," she called. "Come in, my dear," the wolf said, trying to mimic Grandma's voice. Little Red Riding Hood stepped inside and approached the bed. She noticed something seemed odd. "Grandma, what big eyes you have," she said. "All the better to see you with, my dear," the wolf replied. "Grandma, what big ears you have." "All the better to hear you with," he said. "Grandma, what big teeth you have." "All the better to eat you with," the wolf roared, leaping out of bed. Little Red Riding Hood screamed and ran for the door. Just as the wolf lunged at her, a woodsman passing by heard her cries. He burst into the cottage with his axe raised high. The woodsman chased the wolf away and helped Little Red Riding Hood free her grandmother, who was unharmed but shaken. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood promised to always stay on the path and never talk to strangers. As for the wolf, he learned to stay far from the little girl in the red hood, for the woodsman was always nearby to protect her. And so, they all lived happily and safely ever after.